Welcome to this episode of Engineering Success Profile Editions with our very special guest, Raynee De Zoysa. This is a little bit of a different episode because we're going to be talking about career breaks, whether that be maternity leave, paternity leave, or just a leave of absence. Raynee will be discussing what individuals can do and how the industry can best support individuals who are taking career breaks, and more importantly, a return to work, because as we all know, retaining staff is just as important as recruiting new staff. So hi Raynee, and welcome to the show.
Hi, yeah, good to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you here. Can we get a bit of a background first? How did you first start a career in engineering?
So it was probably about my interest, to be honest. I think I enjoyed maths, science and design technology at school.
Yeah.
And sort of my pastime was playing with Lego, watching Art Attack and How for Now. And you can't help but put your hand up when you do that.
Right, yeah.
And I think it was a part of what I was good at, but also what I enjoyed. And it came to that crunch at A levels. It's like, okay, so what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
You enter the career advisor office and the library, and you've got all these hosts of occupations that you can go for.
Yeah.
I kind of went through engineering because one was just sort of light bulb moment, and it kind of fit all those boxes. I didn't know much about it, so what I decided to do was write to a couple of companies and get a placement, just to get the feel about the industry, because I didn't have anyone in my family that did engineering in especially civil engineering. So I thought, right, okay, let me just go and get some experience. And that at that time you write letters, you sign at the bottom to say, please can I do a placement? And luckily I got a placement for 2 weeks with actually the company I'm working for now, but it was the kind of old version of the version that amalgamated the new version. I got a placement for 2 years on a wind farm in Cambridge, and they put me up for 2 weeks. I was there following the site engineer on site, working with the German company that were doing the wind turbines at the time. And I think it was just being at the coalface, really enjoying that moment of, wow, this is what engineering is all about. And the problem solving aspect that came out of that, I just thought, right, this is what I want to do. I mean, architecture was in the back of my mind, but the whole 7 years, just, I'll be honest, I don't really want to be doing it for 7 years. And I just thought, I'd give it a go. And so there it was. It was, civil engineering was what I decided I wanted to do and study.
So what was your route into engineering? Was it the traditional route?
Yeah, so I took the traditional route. So I was so keen to go to university. I think it was that, go to university, go to a different city, live out, be in dorms. You see all these American films about being like college. And I was like, I want to do that. So I was like, really keen. And I went to Nottingham University to do a master's degree. But just in case I didn't get the grades, I wanted to make sure I had a backup plan. So I actually applied to do a year placement at a design consultancy, and I actually got an offered place, but I got the grades. So it was kind of that fork that was like, okay, so do I do the placement and defer my university offer, or do I go to university? And I think it goes back to that eager to go to university, but also not feeling left behind. I really didn't want to feel like I was a year behind my peers. And I thought, oh my God, like I don't want to be left back in my hometown. I want to go out and enjoy the parties, studying and have that balance, of course. So I went to university, and I don't regret that whatsoever. It was the best choice I made. But looking back, a year would have not made a differse. And it would have been an enriched year. I would have made so many, contacts and friends and learned so much about the industry. So, myself now, if I ask this question again, I would probably have done the placement, because it's such a great thing to do. I advise others to do the same. So that's where that whole, having a year off, or even changing, or not being conventional that everyone else does. It really can, mess with you a little bit, and you've got to have the confidence to make that, different route. So so the university was what I took, and I did a master's degree.
So you work for a major contractors, and obviously you took a career break, obviously you're on maternity leave. How long did you actually take off work?
So I'm on my second career break. So my first career break, I initially decided to take 9 months off, because new to the fact I was going to have a child, and I was kind of sort of, well, I've got to go back to work. I can't possibly have a year off or more than that. I've got to just have 9 months. So that's in my mind, the standard I kind of heard about. So I thought, well, 9 months will work. I can just have the baby, nurture it a little bit, do other things, and then go back to work. And I even wanted to do an online course and learn a language while I was on maternity, which I didn't do. I didn't do at all. They're naive to think that you can do anything but, raise a child. And the learning you get from that is phenomenal. So my first one I had, I decided to have, decided at the beginning to have 9 months, but then on review a couple of months later, I decided, the fact that I needed more time to kind of realign my personal life. Having a child is a real amazing thing to do, and a gift you can give to yourself, but also it has a real mental and physical change, to your personal life. And I needed that extra couple of months to really shift and move into being ready to go back into work in 12 months. But then my second one, I decided, because I left my first, to do 12 months. And, it's been the best thing for me, knowing I've got the 12 months to really realign myself and be ready to go back into work.
So how much support was there for you from your company while you were on maternity leave? And, how did you keep up to date with construction news, industry news? How did that work?
So support is interesting. You talk about support, because I think there can never be enough support in this area. And I think in our industry in particular, I don't think we have enough data or experiences shared across the organisation to really understand the kind of support that we need. When I first went into having my first career break, it was the celebratory thing that a celebration of that I was having a child, and going to work every day up until my maternity leave. And you talk about when are you leaving, and it was all about, okay, you're leaving, and not really about the support post that. Not because they didn't want to, but because I wasn't really sure of the kind of support that I needed. So I think what I've learned from the whole career break 1 and then 2 is it has to come from you to kind of give that dialogue and transparency, the type of support that you need. Because a lot of people and organizations, rightly so, want to give that person that break, because it is a break from your career and your life. And it takes you to kind of re-engage back to say, okay, I'm here and I want to be part of the conversation. I haven't gone. I've just gone away to do personal things, I'm ready to take on the pace again to find out more about what's going on and keeping in touch days and re-engage. And so, and because I did that, it was very receptive, and the support naturally mirrored back. And I then set the tone of, okay, I'd really like to have a call with you, every couple of months, just checking in about how things are going in the organization, but also I'm telling you how things are going with me. At the time of my first career break, I said I wanted 9 months, but I had that conversation with my 9 months. I said, actually, I want 12. And they were like, okay, well, now you've told me the earliest possible place. That's great. I'm grateful for that. I can make that work with HR and the leaves. So I think in terms of support, there's so much more we still need to do. And I think it needs the people that have gone and had career breaks to talk about their experience, and then come back to the table and say, okay, what can we do more and do better to kind of help with that. So that's where I am with the support. I think we need to talk about it more and actually share our knowledge to then give back to organizations and say, okay, I would really like some keeping in touch. I'd really like to discuss part-time or job sharing. How would that look? Is this even possible? With the 9. Is there a way? Perhaps I want to do the same job, but I want to try something slightly different. That's same level, but something different. And I think it's that dynamic feeling and that flexibility that needs to be discussed through when I talk about support. Because not everyone has have very varied experiences when they have, in particular, paternity leave. People have postnatal depression, or they've gone through a very hard, or they just have changed mentally, and their values have changed. And so that needs to be reflected in, okay, work out for yourself what you need, and then go to your organization to say what how can this work for both of us. So did your position ever feel compromised
with you taking a lot of time off, you know, I suppose it can creep into people's minds, can't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the things, I think for me, it was more my personal perception of it. So I thought it was like a maternity penalty. You know, I'm away for 1 year.
Yeah.
The whole world's going to change, and I can't possibly go back to the same job and want to ask for promotion. Like, that's not even possible. You know, they're not going to take me on. So a lot of it was self-doubt in my head that I wasn't good enough. And I think that happens quite a lot when people have career breaks. And it doesn't have just to be maternity leave. It's sabbatical. It could be, you know, having doing further education, and feel like they're just not quite in par with their peers because they've had a year of break. And for me, it's about understanding what the transferable skills you have during that career break.
That's right. Yeah.
That makes it strong for you to think about that. And you know, putting that message across to your organization and your company to say, look, I've gone away, but these are the transferable skills that I've learned, and you know, and I can go on and talk about those, you know, about how strong they are. And it's more of a self-doubt. And I think once you've got past that, and absolutely, when you first come into back maternity leave, you are going to be anxious and nervous about going back in, because your personal life changed, and you need to it's that kind of getting used to the new change and the new norm. So again, it's about transparency and talking about it with your team and your organization about how it can make you work and transition back. And it could be a phased return. It could, you know, you could do a couple of days and then go back into the full capacity you want to go into. But again, it's being quite honest with yourself and then honest with the organization about how you want to deal with it.
Yeah. Because let's be fair, a year's not a long time out of industry, is it?
Exactly.
You know,
it's not. And you know, people even have a longer than a year and 2 years, and even again, it's how you frame it. And I think it's a negative, like, you know, maternity penalty. It's a negative term. You know, we talk about career breaks. You know, it should be about. It's a natural thing that we do and we have to do because we want to grow our family, and you know, it's a circle of life that it should be seen in my mind as a great thing to do and come back even more enriched and more empowered to do more. And for me, empowering career breaks is what I'm trying to push for now, rather than it be a negative term, a negative thought anyway.
Yeah, because, you know, retaining people within engineering is as important as getting new talent. You know, so do you think, as an industry, we're doing enough to support people, or, you know, is it the out of sight, out of mind sort of scenario at the moment?
Yeah. I talk about that timeline of you know, women then, you know, having career breaks. You know, you start at the beginning and you get really the graduates or really early people in and very enthusiastic about the career, and there's so much campaigning about getting, you know, a lot more people into the industry, which absolutely we need to do, because it's at entry level and school level to kind of get people interested in.
Of course. And
then now, even more so now, you know, people are having career breaks later on in their life. So we're having career breaks around, you know, later on, and you end up naturally being a bit more senior when you have a career break, simply because of the nature of you know, where we live. Some people want to buy a house before they have a career break, you know, and that happens later on in life than opposed to perhaps my parents who did things earlier on. And so for them, a career break was like, well, you know, I can quite easily jump back in because my role is perhaps easier to fill. Whereas when you're doing a lot more roles that are a lot more senior, that role replacement is probably a little bit harder. So when we talk about having people go off and have that break and that retaining people, I think we need to see a lot more stories and a lot more kind of sharing of knowledge of how we can do that better. Because there's a lot of people now that are going on career breaks later on in life, and it's the more we do it, the more we kind of share across companies, organizations about it, then this will help shape some of the policies and some of the people, you know, some of the HR things that they need to do to get people retained and stay in the industry. You know, I go back to sort of job sharing. Job sharing is such a great way to be flexible and dynamic, yet still achieve the same thing for that role. So, you know, you can have, you know, your 3 days and the other person does 2. We just don't really see that industry as much.
No, we don't.
You know, compared to, you know, teachers, they do a lot of that, and it's, you know, seen as a norm in others. And part-time work is it should be, you know, it shouldn't be seen as a negative that you want to reduce your hours after you come back from a career break. It depends on where you want to go in your career, and it's your shape and form and your story and the way that you want to go. So I think it's reframing that, and again, getting people thinking and talking about it in more of a positive light.
That's right. Yeah.
So then, you know, and then it allows other people to feel like, you know, I want to go on a career break, or I know someone that is. I'm going to support them in this way, or I'm going to sort of make sure that these things are said or done, and that will help people on paternity leave.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Then a lot of people that may be considering doing a paternity leave might want to do it now, because it's talked about in a more positive light.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, being in a situation gives you a greater insight. Obviously, you know, you obviously have a greater insight to somebody who hasn't, you know, had a career break. Do you think we therefore need to change the perception, like we've just spoken about, of having a career break, that it's not a negative, that it is a positive?
Absolutely. And for me, in particular, maternity leave, I've gained so many transferable skills that I never knew I had. So, you know, being sleep deprived is just normal for me now. That's not, you know, I'm not saying that's a good thing. What I'm saying is that your resilience is so much more there, and you know, your time management and your focus. So, you know, when I have an hour or 2 hours to do a particular piece, I really need to make sure I focus my time, and I'm not thinking or doing other things that perhaps I would have done.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, pre-having a career break. Sorry.
Yeah.
And you know, you end up valuing others and valuing the support that you get. So I got, you know, I asked for support on my career breaks, and then that helped me filter through needing support more in my career as well. You know, willing to nurture the next generation. Certainly now I'm a mum. I really want to make sure that the world out there is better and the best place it can be or be for my children, and I want to do that more in the organisation too, and work with people that are really enthusiastic and have got that buzz, you know, and energy, and really make sure that's sustained, and you know, it maintains through their career, and get them working at their best capacity as well. So it's all these things that are, you know, transferable, and I feel like you end up just doing them when you go back into work, and you're just much more efficient, and you're much more, you know, on it. And you know, even if you're doing part-time, you end up churning out so much more work, because you're just a lot more organized, because you've got something else to consider after you've clocked off. And so I think, again, celebrating that and actually talking about that a lot more will end up helping others, you know, take career breaks, or consider that when it comes to supporting career people on career breaks.
So what individual actions do you think people should take? Obviously, you know, you've experienced it, and obviously you've actioned things yourself. Probably a lot of people don't, you know. So what individual actions do you think people should take if they're thinking of a career break? So
career break, I think one of the things I'd certainly do is talk to your line manager about, or your you know, person that you kind of can help you have a career break, into, you know, what you're thinking of doing. And maybe at the beginning it might not be your line manager, it could be a peer that you're thinking about a career break. It could be maternity, or it could be something else, just so that you can kind of get an idea of, okay, this is what I'm thinking, how can this work? I'd suggest even seeking even advice of someone that's already been on one. So I actually did that on my second time round, and funny enough, no, they did it to me. So I went off on the first career break, and then the second career break, someone asked me about, well, how did it go? And actually we're asking about some things they didn't feel comfortable about asking their line manager, and it was things, and it was like, you know, like breastfeeding, you know, I'm thinking about breastfeeding for the full year, but I'm going to go back, and I want to breastfeed for further. Can it work? And it's those conversations. You're like, my God, this is so useful, because we need to then support and tell the organisation, okay, we want to do this, but we just need to have a way of working to have it be easier for someone to go back into the workplace. So I think then, like I said, go and ask and even seek people that have done it already, so that you can get a real kind of comfort that it's okay to do. And then for yourself, if you're thinking about, in my case, maternity leave, I really wanted to make sure my handover was, was done in the most, for the best way that I could, so that when I left, I felt confident that I was leaving the work and leaving everything so that person in my post could continue on. You might have someone already in post, which is great because you can do a great handover. It's not always the case. So, great notes and great kind of, videos, whatever way, shape you want to do it, just help me make that transition quite easily and ensure that I can, then move and go into a career break knowing that I've left that side of it. And my work, I mean, I enjoy what I do, and I'm very fortunate I do them. So for me, it's really important that I leave it all into, with the best shape it can be. So, and then it's a case of, it's okay to be nervous about going on a career break, especially the first one. I was petrified. Like I was like, oh, I'm going to have all this time. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do a language. I'm going to learn another skill. I'm going to upskill myself. So when I go back into the workplace, I'm just this goddess that can do everything. And but I'd say be kind to yourself, because your perceptions of where you think you're going to do and where you actually end up doing, it can be different, and that's okay. It's okay to be different, and give yourself that time to really readjust as a parent, and with your partner to really readjust and understand how the new norm's going to look like when you come back from a career break.
So let's take your career break. So becoming a parent, obviously, like you said, has had a huge impact on your life. It has a huge impact on everyone's lives. But you also gain some really positive attributes that you can take into to professional environment as well. What do you think these are?
In terms of the attributes
the attributes that you take back, after you've had.
Well, I think time management definitely is a massive one that I've got to go back into the workplace, ensuring that I'm good at. Actually, feedback. So having children, you are subject to quite honest feedback all the time. And I end up becoming quite sort of resilient in terms of and understanding, okay, the feedback I'm getting, okay, I need to change it now. I need to change what I'm doing because the person doesn't like the broccoli. So how can I, and so that I ended up realizing I can really use that in my workplace and try and understand and listen to the feedback, but also give feedback as well. So, and I didn't do that before. So I think that was a great thing as well. And also focus, again, real focus on the work, speaking up and being quite dynamic and quite creative about the work I'm doing as well. Understanding that, my patterns of work are different, and I need to work with the organization about how can we do this and make it work. So, dynamic working and flexible working, it was great because I came back from my first career break and said, right, this is the way that I want to work now. And I wanted the autonomy to be able to control, to say, okay, I can deliver this for you, and set the expectations so that I was delivering at the same time. I was still being true to myself and still having the balance of having, my home life. And you don't get it right all the time. It's an iterative process. I think you still need to keep talking to the organization or your line manager or your teams about, how can we make this better? How can we make this, easier for us all to deliver with the changes? And actually being deliberate and mindful about when you're not with your children, to kind of really take the time to think. You can't clone yourself, but what you can do is, what I do quite particularly, is ask my care provider to kind of give me updates and about what they're doing, because it helped me remind myself that they're having a wonderful time, and I can go back home and have great moments with them, but I'm in the moment here and I'm delivering, and I want to do a good job here. And it helped me be better at my job, knowing that they're having a great time and I can go back and revisit and help and be with them afterwards and talk about some of the things they did during the day. And that helps you go and have that mom guilt, which people talk about, and parent guilt. So that, again, it's just having just the awareness about who you are now and what's important to you, and your values will change. That's in any career break or any way of being away from the workplace. And it's going and readjusting that with your working environment and making it work for both.
So what would your advice be to somebody going on a career break or thinking about a career break?
I would say definitely do it. I think it's a really great experience for the individual. It's very scary, and you will have a little bit of probably apprehension about doing it, thinking, is it the right time? I mean, sometimes, COVID-19, this whole experience, that I think lots of people are going on career breaks for varied reasons, and it could be that you were, forced to go on a career break, or even being furloughed for a while. So it's really giving people a way of really realigning their wants and needs and purposes, and then bring something even more meaningful to the table afterwards. And so I really think it's a great positive thing to do, and it can really empower you as a person, and you end up bringing more to the organization because you're a more rounded person, and all the transferable skills that you learn. I mean, as a mom now, and in maternity, and now as a parent, or now parents, there is so much more enriched, things that I've seen through the young eyes of my children, and the creativity that they go through. And I'm like, that's just, some of the things that they do, I'm like, I need to take that back to the table at work, and take some of these ideas and think of outside the box. And it's a wonderful thing to go through, and I would definitely encourage more people to do it, in whatever capacity they can. And I do think there's more support groups and organizations that we need to talk about it more. Talk about each other's stories and support each other through the changes, and give each other ideas on how the changes can work for an organization that still needs to deliver, projects, still needs to work, but make it more easier to bring those conversations up.
Raynee, that's it. Thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Thank you very much. No, it was wonderful. Thank you very much for having me.
No problem.
And again, if anyone wants to get in touch around any of the things that I've said, I'm sure you're going to leave some of the
we'll put all the
details
out.
Definitely want us to create a support group for more people that want to go on career breaks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you.